Welcome back to Season 5 of Porcelain Peak, a strange and scary podcast covering all things horror and sci-fi. I'm one of your hosts, Tone, and I'm joined by...
John.
And...
Internet Daddy, Internet Darling. You know him. You've loved him for so long now. And honestly, it's getting a little bit creepy. And that's why I'm announcing today I'm leaving the show.
What?
I know, right? This is going to be my last
Gets
episode.
up and walks out right now.
But I'm Anthony. Hi. Here to reminisce a little bit.
Yeah, so this, if you don't know, is our final episode. So we are still going to do some Chop Talk, share a little bit of news. We're going to play an extended round of trivia just for funsies. And then for our main discussion... We're just going to talk about the show, yeah. So if you are a fan of the show, then we think that you will enjoy that and take a little journey with us from Porcelain Peak, past, present, and no future. John, roll the chop.
Why don't you take my ass and...
End it forever.
End it forever. Finish it.
Why don't you take an axe and chop it open?
Before we dive into news... Fellas, for the last time, how the hell are ya?
Sad.
That was very enthusiastic, though.
Yeah, no, I'm not happy. It's ending. I know that it doesn't mean the end for us Porcelain Peak boys. We're still gonna have our creative outlets and things like that.
Porcelain
just
Peak
wait.
is forever a part of us.
Yeah.
We'll wait a few years,
Yeah.
and then season 6 we'll just call Porcelain Peak, and just act like it never happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do think that if we really want to get people's interest, though, we need to come back as Porcelain Peak, the next generation. That's how you know, like, it's like your daddy's Porcelain Peak, but not like your daddy's Porcelain Peak.
It's not like your internet daddy's Porcelain Peak.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll just have to like digitally de-age ourselves. One of us has to shave our head completely.
We'll just use that baby face filter from Snapchat.
Is that a thing?
Little babies.
Oh my god, that's awful. Well,
My
I'm sorry
widow
that you're sad,
Willie.
John. You have other good news today, so your day's not awful, right?
Yeah, so I mean, I also found out that I'm making a pretty large move in my day job career, which I think is going to be fantastic. I'm very excited about that.
Yeah. And how are you?
You're moving up from street walker to boulevard walker.
Mm-hmm.
Boulevard walker.
Boulevard stroller.
Nothing against sex workers or streetwalkers, just John specifically. I
The only
am
thing against him is going to be me.
I am, all things considered, doing quite well. But what I've been telling people who have been sending us lovely messages and things about being sad the show is ending is that, yeah, I don't know if we were all just kind of in denial about it for a while or kind of putting off the emotions, but especially in these last couple episodes, like I think in the last episode is when it really started to hit me that this has been a huge part of our lives. So it's
on our bodies forever.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it'll be very strange moving forward, but I have
scary.
confidence. Beautiful. I have confidence that we can do it. But how are you doing? How are you holding up?
I've had anxiety diarrhea for like a week, so...
A shoebox diarrhea.
And I'm wondering if that's the cause. I don't know. I found myself, when I texted you this the other day, like, oh, man, I'm just feeling down out of nowhere. And then it's just been progressively worse. And I'm like, oh, it's probably this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've been trying to fight that. And just smiling through the pain.
I think the biggest thing that we can say is that we need to make sure that the three of us don't lose touch, that we keep...
Don't lose touch. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, that we keep this up, you know?
Yeah. We just have to rename the group message, which I think you already did, right?
I'd like it to be something different that I can actually find, though. Because I keep trying to send shit to Porcelain Peak, and then and I'm like, oh, wait, no, it's fucking that shit from I Think You Should Leave.
Yeah, I just didn't want it to stay Porcelain Peak because then it would be like, you know, you break up with somebody and then you find one of their pictures of you guys together like years later, and you have that little twinge of
Did I do the right
loss
thing?
and regret. Did I make the right decisions in my life? And I didn't want us to feel that way about Porcelain Peak. I want us to be able to close this chapter and feel confident about it, which is why, if you haven't checked them out, our last few episodes have been us covering movies we always wanted to cover on the show, and then also talking about Elvira and Vincent Price. So just trying to tie up all those loose ends, and I think we're in a good place now to say goodbye, but like you guys were saying, not forever, because I don't think we're going to be able to stay apart, and I doubt we're going to be able to stay out of the limelight for very long. I think we've all been kind of getting used to being celebrities, you know.
I don't know about any of that. All right, on. Well, we have some news.
Yeah, we do. I don't know if any of this is gonna get you past like a half chub, you guys, but I thought it would be unfair if we didn't do the typical segments on the show.
Typical segments.
Typical segments, general segments. Yep.
Yep.
And so first thing that I wanted to mention is Creep Show. So this is a show on Shudder that I have not really been a fan of since the first season. Yeah, 3 seasons, because this is season 4 trailer that just came out.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, so the season...
I didn't get past 1.
Yeah, I love both Creep Show movies, especially the first one. But yeah, something about the show just never hooked me. But if anybody is into Creep Show or is just excited for something new coming out around Halloween time, the season 4 trailer dropped, and this season is promising to have more monsters in it than ever before, and should be releasing around Halloween time.
I believe it's also going to be featuring an appearance from Tom Atkins, if I'm not mistaken.
Ooh, shit. Yeah. I'm into it.
He looks exactly the same as he did in the 80s.
Good. Like a fine wine. And then this is actually something that one of my coworkers sent me a link to the other day, but the 27th of this month, so actually will this have already passed when this episode comes out? Well, for you guys, I want to put this on your radar then. Or if you went to this, let me know. National Cinema Day is on the 27th, and most movie theaters are doing $4 tickets for every movie that they're showing.
Tickets.
Oh, Regal did send me an email.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I personally have not seen Last Voyage of the Demeter. I haven't seen the new Ninja Turtles. I haven't seen the new Ninja Turtles. If Haunted Mansion is still playing, I haven't seen that, so I may have to go do a classic double to triple feature.
Have you ever done a triple?
Back in the day, I used to go to Brendan here downtown, and I would do 3 to 4 movies.
Shit.
And I would just look at the schedule and figure out how to line them up properly.
Yeah.
Just because I had nothing going on in my life.
A 3Z.
I've
definitely done a 2Z.
Definitely done a 2Z.
All week.
Yeah. Last week I saw Blue Beetle. And
Oh shit! Did you?
Yeah,
Are you the only person?
Well, I mean, Nick was there, and then surprisingly, there were quite a few people there. But I think that obviously it's bombing at the box office. But I mean, I think if you're interested, $4 isn't a bad price for it. I thought that it was a lot more enjoyable than I thought it was going to be. Still doesn't seem like it's going to have any real bearings on DC's cinematic universe, but I thought it was fun. I thought the characters were really well put together, aside from the villain. Yeah, so it was a good time.
Cool.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people saying they really liked it. I have had zero interest in seeing it. I do like the main guy from Cobra Kai.
Yeah,
But
and George Lopez. I mean,
George Lopez is great.
Was he good in it?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's probably the best part of it.
I heard
do
a
like
lot of
me some
people say
Lopez.
that it's good and that it's good representation. But I have also seen that it is now having has now topped or bottomed the Flash in terms of being the DC universes or Warner Brothers.
And they didn't want to give us
bomb.
fucking Catwoman. That's where they fucked up, because they should have released that shit after Fraser fucking
Batwoman.
Batwoman. Yes. After Fraser won that Oscar, that probably would have got people in seats.
Yeah, I've kind of I've started to think that maybe Warner Brothers doesn't know what the fuck they're doing with their studio or with their movies at this point. And yeah, so if you're a movie coming out under their banner, I feel sorry for you.
Thank God we got the 8 Harry Potter movies right before all this shit hit the fan with them.
Right. There's a new Netflix docuseries coming out from Steven Spielberg's Amblin television division called Encounters, and this is each episode is going to be about a UFO alien abduction encounter, told, probably not from all the actual people's perspectives, dramatized in some way, but I just thought that connection was cool if you're a fan of Close Encounters or UFO abduction stuff. I don't watch all of that stuff because a lot of it is either just repeats of things I've seen a million times,
Repeats.
or it's like crazy crackpot conspiracy theorist stuff, which I don't really have a huge interest in. But we've covered a little bit of UFO stuff. I think during our space camp we talked about UFOs.
We had an
back
entire
when the Pentagon thing blew up and
UAPs.
UAPs.
Yeah.
WAPs.
Yeah, whoops. This is something we've talked a lot about AI and artists recently, and apparently a U.S. judge has determined that AI created work cannot be copyrighted. Yeah, so
That's interesting.
This is a big issue right now because of the the writers and the actors strikes that are currently ongoing, and have been for months in the case of the writers strike. But Judge Beryl Howell stated that human authorship is the bedrock requirement of copyright. So because there is no human involved in the creation, outside of giving this a prompt, I guess, it cannot be copyrighted.
How does that work if AI is used for things like with the last Indiana Jones? Like they used AI to make him younger, didn't they?
But that would have been with the permission of Harrison Ford, and they used a ton of his old footage because he gave permission for it. I think what will happen is that people will then take this as a way to abuse using other people's likenesses with AI, which is exactly what the Actors Guild and Writers Guild are trying to stop.
Yeah.
The Actors Guild specifically. And there will be a ton more court cases where this... I mean, just because one judge said this doesn't mean that, like, the Supreme Court has announced that copyright doesn't apply to AI. This is just in one specific case. It doesn't say here which
But that
one,
would mean that a movie studio couldn't use AI to write a script and then try to copyright it. Like, they'd be fucked. Anybody could have the rights to that movie then.
Yeah, essentially you could play that movie anywhere and it wouldn't be
So what
a
they
problem.
would do is they would AI generate the script, and then they would have a cheaply paid writer come in and do their little touch up on it and put their name on it, and then they could copyright it.
Wow. And they will. That's going to happen.
And they will.
Yeah,
That's exactly what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think that there are some interesting things in those spaces that are being done to help protect artists, which I think is cool. I know that there is this group that went together and like they, like similar to how people like brute force passwords, they were able to do a similar thing with melodies, and then just like over time, like create like every possible melody. I think it's like 471 billion possible combinations of melodies, and then just basically put them into the world as public domain. So that way, when artists have like melodies in their songs that sound similar to up to a certain degree, the protection of just that it already existed even before they considered it, because there's this large AI platform that has them, will help to prevent people from like who are like at least attempting to write their own music from like being sued by somebody by saying, you know, oh, that sounds too similar to something that I made.
I mean, you see it with movies all the time. How often does this, we talked about it on the show, but one studio comes out with a movie that's exactly the same as the other fucking studio. Like, what are the chances of somebody coming up with the same idea for a song around the same time?
I mean,
high.
well, I mean, if you think about how many movies there are infinitely more songs.
Yeah.
And if all these AI generated things are going to be pulling from the same materials, the same pool of internet materials, then of course there are going to be overlaps. I just, when I watch a movie, when I look at a piece of art, when I look at a cathedral, the thing that impresses me about it is not just the inherent beauty of the thing that I'm looking at, but the knowledge that a human being created it, and that there is some possibility that someone like me could have also done something like that. Like, like watching it and going like, oh, this was done by humans, and that's amazing. Like I was watching something the other day, and they were walking around in this gorgeous church, and I was like, I would not give a shit about this except that the thinking about the amount of time and energy and work that human beings put into it. Like the pyramids, like if a machine built that, it'd be like, yeah, that's impressive, that's cool. But knowing that human beings put years and years and years and years of work into that and somehow pulled it off, like it's just, but we've talked a lot about this stuff. Go to past episodes if you want to hear more of our thoughts on artificial intelligence, quote unquote.
Most of it's bad.
Something else we've talked about recently is the disappearance of physical media and how that will potentially affect movies that have gone straight to streaming. Well, some good news if you were a fan of the Emmy-nominated Predator movie Prey. It is going to be coming to 4K and Blu-ray this October, and that was a Hulu exclusive.
And we all really liked it.
Yeah, it's a movie that I would definitely be interested in owning, especially if there were some cool bonus features or
gorgeous
commentaries
fucking
or
movie.
anything.
Yeah,
I think it's top 2 or 3 in the Predator franchise by a pretty like sizable margin above some of those other schlocky pieces of trash.
Yeah, I mean, if the first one wasn't a fucking Schwarzenegger classic, like this would probably be my favorite one.
Yeah, and so I think a lot of people are going to be. I mean, that's a good sign that some of these places, at least like Hulu, are thinking about putting out physical media and actually still doing that. And I'm getting an itch to start collecting in, specifically just because I'm so rabid about commentary tracks.
Yeah.
And there's only so many that you can find that people have been gracious enough to rip off of discs and put online, which is a great service that people do. I don't know how legal that is, but there are definitely specific movies where I've seen people say this has an amazing commentary track. Like Pee-wee's Big Adventure, I've been wanting to listen to the commentary because it's Burton and it's Paul Rubens, but I can't find it anywhere online. So I'm like, well, now I need to go buy
Go buy some
Big Adventure.
Pee-wee.
Yeah. So for things like that, like that's the stuff where I'm like, I really hope that more physical media continues to come out with cool special feature incentives that make people want to go out and buy them. Or whether that's even just like a cool steelbook, like the new Halloween trilogy is getting a 4K steelbook collector set this October, and I'm not wild about any of those movies. I'm probably still going to buy it just because I'm sure it's going to be gorgeous, and it would be cool to have all three of those movies as a little box set to go along with my Halloween box set that I already have.
But I mean, if you think about like how weird studios are about things, and like how like at any random moment, the public could find out that some huge studio executive is a piece of shit, a la Weinstein, and then because your movie is caught up in weird red tape with that studio, you might never have access to again, like Kevin Smith and Dogma. I mean, the only way that you can get Dogma in like a legal way is to buy a secondhand DVD somewhere, because it's not available on any streaming platform.
Fuck, I wish I still had that shit.
Say for purchase or anything, because it belongs to Weinstein. Wow. And so for him, he's like, well, I'm not going to pay Weinstein, even if he's in jail. I'm not going to pay him to get my movie back, so it just doesn't exist except for the reels that I have back at the Smod Castle.
That's crazy. I used to own it. I don't think I still do.
I think
money.
I had it somewhere on DVD as well.
I was watching the OG Scream the other night with a commentary by the Weekly Planet guys, and they just do like a 3-2-1 sync up at the beginning, and it actually fucked me up because that movie used to have, I believe, the Weinstein logo before the Dimension logo. And so like in their commentary, they were saying like, oh, there's the Weinstein Company logo and then the Dimension logo, but they've dropped that off of the streaming versions or whatever. Oh, wow. So I had to like resync the track because there were fewer titles at the beginning. For like big commentary channels that I listen to, they will regularly like wait until the movie has started and use one of the titles in the movie because of how frequently these things shuffle hands and change production companies.
We used a similar theory when we were doing the commentary tracks for Patreon.
That's where I learned it from.
Mm-hmm. I learned it from you.
If you were a fan of the MonsterVerse Godzilla movies that have come out in the past few years, Apple TV, we had talked about this before, but Apple TV Plus is coming out with I didn't realize until this moment, a live action Monarch: Legacy of Monsters MonsterVerse TV series, and they released some stills from it, and it straight up just looks like it's going to be like as big a budget as the Godzilla movies.
This is like Godzilla Kong stuff?
It's Godzilla and all those titans that we didn't really get a lot of like info about in those movies. It's going to be Godzilla fighting a bunch of those giant monsters, but in live action. It's got Kurt Russell and Wyatt Russell in it. I assume playing father and son.
Sign me up.
You got me there, yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, coincidentally, mother and daughter.
Interesting. Crazy, right? And then the last bit of news that I wanted to bring up, because we would be remiss if we didn't mention this, Chucky Season 3 is going to be premiering October 4th. There was a little announcement trailer with him at a podium like he was doing a press conference, and it was hilarious. And having just come off of watching The Exorcist 3 and having that BDE
coursing through our brains,
I'm super fucking excited for this.
October's gonna be fucking tight with that and Fall House
Packed
Usher.
to the
I'm
brim
so
with
ready.
spooky goodness.
I can't wait, dude. I think I'm going to decorate September 1st and keep it up for 2 months.
It's October, baby.
Yeah.
Time to get spooky. But yeah, that's all I got for Chop Talk this week. And now I'm just going to go hide under a rock and never read any news and not know anything that's going on in the world.
It's nice.
Yeah?
I don't know unless you tell me. And I see random shit like, that's cool.
I look at it so you don't have to.
Appreciate you. All right, that's going to wrap it up for Chop Talk. We'll go ahead and get started with some trivia.
Trivia!
That Christmas house of wax, the fog, piranha. It's one of those, right? Right?
All right, so we got 3 trivias for you. Is that the proper way to say that? Trivia.
But before we start,
Oh,
John, do you have a trivia song for us this week? Can you come up with one on the fly?
Oh, can I?
well, think about it before we get to this, or no? Or you want to do it now?
Because I got one too.
Uh-oh.
I brought one just in case.
All right, so you got one. So I'm gonna
Okay,
defer
so
to
you
you.
think on it because I definitely want you
Yeah.
to do one. But let's see if you can guess this. Trivia. 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 And trivia. Trivia.
Something about it sounds so familiar.
But where's your heart?
I was gonna say, is it My Chemical Romance?
Yeah, it's Famous Last Words by
Yeah.
My Chemical Romance, which I felt was fitting since these are our famous last words. Infamous last words.
Infamous.
Are you going to do one or no?
You got time. You can do one before the next
Think about
game.
it.
Yeah.
All right. I got a few rounds of my favorites, a couple antonyms, and a couple synonyms.
Cinnamon?
All right. Cinnamons.
You brought us something to eat?
Yeah. All right. Here's a synonym. So if you don't know how this works, I'll say a word similar to the title of the movie or words, and then you have to guess what the actual title is. All right. Shriek.
Scream.
Yes. Operation Unlikely.
Mission Possible. Your unlikely operation, should you choose to accept it.
I don't remember what the answer to that is.
No, let's give it a
We'll
shot.
read it anyway and see if we can come up
okay.
with it.
No, I remember this one. The next one. Anyway. Dwelling on a possessed mound.
House on Haunted Hill.
That is correct. Yes. I wrote Bug Punch.
Bug Punch.
Oh, never mind. I know what it is.
Bug Punch?
Guys, it's staring you in the face. How's that for a hint?
Beetlejuice.
Yeah.
Oh, I was thinking punch like a.
Yeah, I
like
was
a
also
fist, yeah.
caught up in thinking that punch,
Yeah.
like...
The last synonym is the vomit.
The
Blob?
barf.
Throw up.
The vomit. The explode.
The sickness?
The purge. Come on. All
Okay.
right.
Dark, but okay.
Antonyms. This is that same game, but the opposite. All right.
This is all movies about ants, right?
Yeah.
Some of them Nims, too.
Little awards in Big America.
Big Trouble in Little China.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah. Ass on.
Ass on.
Face Off.
Yes, that's correct.
Ass on, face off.
All right. This is an easy one and irrelevant to some Chop Talk. Groom of Tiffany.
Bride
Bride
of
of Chucky.
Chucky.
Yeah, and the last one for you. Known wall.
Known wall?
Yeah.
Unknown floor? I don't know.
Known wall. The scary door.
That is incorrect. It is secret window.
We were
You guys were there.
around
You
it.
guys had it, yeah.
I like the scary door.
All right. So speaking of ass on, let's get started with
Movies trivia game. Trivia.
The game where we talk about movies and their trivia.
and their
In-game
trivia. All right. How's this going to work? We are going to read a category and then go in a circle, reading a question to each other, with me to John, John to Anthony, and Anthony back to me in typical fashion. Sorry, back to me in typical fashion. There we go. We got all our staples, okay?
Yeah.
All right. Are we ready, fellas?
Ready as I'll ever be.
Hey, there it is. Comedy, animation. John, what is Willie in Free Willy?
Oh, what is Willie?
Yeah, what is Willie?
I mean, he's really like...
He's sad.
He's willy wet. He is all of those things because he is a imprisoned whale.
He is a whale.
An orca, if you will.
Yes.
I just love the idea of, in that movie, just like some marine biologist running up to him and just be like, we've got to get this whale help. He's willy wet.
Anthony, what former Ghostbuster directed Bill Murray in Groundhog Day?
Well, once a Ghostbuster, always a Ghostbuster, so I don't appreciate the former, but it's Harold Ramis.
Harold Ramis,
Egon
R.I.P.
Spankler. Tone, what was Walt Disney's first long-term relationship? No, I'm just kidding. What was Walt Disney's... What was Walt Disney's first full-length feature?
Snow White. And the
By
Seven
herself?
Dwarfs.
Okay, there you go. She had some
question?
She had some company.
You're like, and the 8 little people?
She had a little company.
Hey, got that. What did we used to say?
Oh, I don't remember.
Something like that, huh? All right. At the end of round 1, we are all on the board. We're moving into action adventure. John, what are the 39 steps in the Hitchcock classic? Oh, I did not know that.
A staircase?
Incorrect. It is a ring of spies.
Oh, interesting.
Oh, shit. I fell into a sneaky ring of spies.
Anthony, in the action movie 300, where is the invading army from?
300. They're Persian, right?
They are indeed the Persians, led by Xerxes.
Oh, I thought they were led by Jake Gyllenhaal, the Prince of Persia.
In the sands of time.
Yep, never saw that movie. Tone,
I liked it.
what is the name of the second Mad Max movie? And I am going to read you the multiple choice because it's kind of funny. A, Mad Max Road Revenge.
Okay.
B, Mad Max Fury Road. Or C, Mad Max, the correct one.
Road Warrior.
It is indeed the Road Warrior.
There's a road revenge.
That's pretty good. All right.
Road
Mad
revenge.
Max 2, Roadhead.
That's the porn version.
Yep.
Anthony and I are sitting at 2. John's got the 1. We're moving into drama musical. John, Meryl Streep, and Robert Redford star in what 1986 Best Picture winner?
Did you guys? I was watching this movie called Doubt the other night with
Isn't that
Philip Seymour Hoffman,
Yeah.
Meryl Streep, and Amy Adams.
It's about like priests touching boys.
Incredible fucking movie. But did you guys know that Meryl Streep is a really good actor?
Yeah.
Were you guys aware?
I would argue maybe the greatest that's ever lived.
I forget what it was back in the day when that movie came out and they did like a Doubt video game. It was like 8-bit. I was like, that's terrible.
Wow.
But hilarious. Anyway,
Um,
John, Meryl Streep, Robert Redford, 86 Best Picture winner.
Is it? I think this is wrong, but Out of Africa?
Yeah, dude. Oh my god.
He always comes out with like the weirdest.
I was this
pulls.
close to offering you a tugger, and I'm glad I did not.
Because, I mean, for the last episode, we're giving them out if we're offering them. Anthony, an overweight, abused, illiterate teen enrolls in an alternative school in what Oscar-nominated film?
Not to be confused with a Chris Evans movie.
Can you
Right?
repeat the question at 0.5 speed?
An overweight,
0.5.
abused, illiterate teen enrolls in an alternative school in what Oscar-nominated film?
Enrolls in an alternative school. I don't know what alternative school means, but
Maybe like a continuation school? I don't
Something
know.
like-
I've never seen it.
Like a GED program, like those are all considered alternative schools.
I'm gonna say, is this Precious, based on the novel Push by Sapphire.
It's exactly that.
That's my Chris Evans joke.
Yeah,
He made that movie Push. That was like light superhero.
Gotcha. Yeah, I've never seen this movie either, but maybe I'll look back around to
I was
it now.
playing actorial today, and the answer was that actress. And I did not get it.
Gabrace, is that Gabrace Sidibe?
Mm-hmm. Something like that.
Tone. How many Billbirds? I cannot speak
Burrs.
today. Yeah, how many Bill Burrs were outside Ebbing, Missouri?
It's a fantastic movie, by the way.
Is it 3?
He's indeed three billboards outside.
Three
Ebbing,
Bill Burrs outside Ebbing, Missouri.
All right. Anthony and I got 2, 3. John's got 2.
There you go.
And we're moving into horror and sci-fi. John, who plays Robert Thorne in the original Omen.
Said Gregory Peck?
Yeah, I gave options, but you didn't let me finish because you're fucking hella rude. Jimmy Stewart or Gregory Peck?
Oh, this kid, he's really got some stuff on the back of his head, man.
This boy's got a bit of the devil in him.
Oh, it's all for you, Damien. Yeah.
I'm glad we had to do a Jimmy
Yeah.
for the last.
Gotta get
We had two Jimmys for a
this
second
boy
there.
to Marrakesh.
Oh, that's too good. Oh.
Anthony, who plays Ichabod Crane in Tim Burton's Sleepy Hollow?
Turns out he's a son of the devil.
He does not want you to have a wonderful life.
It's a miserable life.
That is. Wait, can you repeat the question? Because
Ichabod, Sleepy Hollow.
Ichabod, Sleepy Hollow, John Depp.
Yeah, but indeed, John Depp.
Did you guys watch this documentary on Netflix? The Depp v. Heard?
Do not give a shit.
I mean, I caught some. Mrs. Jigsaw was watching it.
I was curious about what happened and like the conclusion of it.
I think they're both kind of
Conclusion is
pieces
they're
of
both
shit.
pieces of shit.
Yeah.
I just think the whole like.
And the court system is hella weird because there's a bunch of stuff, and I don't want to go too far into it, but they had a trial in the UK, and a bunch of stuff came out then, but they wouldn't let them use that in this. And I was like, that's so weird. I don't know how any of that works, but the court system is very strange.
It's a bit odd.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you get people being let off of similar charges in the U.S., but getting convicted of those charges in other countries. I think that's like what Kevin Spacey is going through right now, where like he's got multiple court cases going on in different places. Yeah, weird.
All right, who's next?
Whose turn? Who just read a question?
Nobody.
He did.
Yeah, Ichabod Crane.
Oh, yes.
John Depp. Tone. The Pod People, which is what we should have called this show,
Pod people.
take over San Francisco in what 1978 science fiction horror film?
I believe that is Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
It should say remake.
Well, it says 1978 in the questions.
But it should still say remake.
Hey,
That's what I always say when I'm referring to the movie. I had a great time watching remake Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
all right. Anthony and I got 4 for clean sweeps, and you got 3.
See?
And we're going back to the top with, what is that?
Some things and some stuff.
Comedy animation. John, the line "You had me at hello" is from what romantic comedy?
You had me at hello. That's Jerry Maguire?
Yeah, and you showed me the money.
Yeah. Show me the money!
I already did.
Yeah. Anthony, the line, "Those cows trusted us," is from which Billy Crystal movie?
Those cows trusted us.
I'm more of a Billy Coke kind of guy.
Crystal Pepsi.
City Slickers?
It is indeed City Slickers.
Never seen it, but sounded like the right choice.
What is the?
My other choice was Monsters Incorporated.
What was the movie that Brooks did with
Blazing
Wilder?
Saddles?
Blazing Saddles. That came up the other day. I think I was playing Framed. Just my little games.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know what this is. It's kind of Western-ish looking. So I was like, Blazing Saddles? Even though I'd never seen it. And it was correct. And I was like, fuck yeah, thank you, show.
Thank you, show.
Thank you, Porcelain Peak.
It's a very good movie and tackles a lot of stuff around racism since it's Richard Pryor. And that's the whole like plot of it, is that Richard Pryor is I believe he's a new sheriff, black sheriff in town, and it causes some issues, and then but it is very much a comedy and it's great. My question for him.
Yep.
All right, Yeah, see, I'm already forgetting how we play this game in the last episode. Tone, in Disney's Lady and the Tramp, what dish do the dogs share together?
A plate.
Okay, but what was on said plate?
Spaghetti.
And
Meatballs.
meatballs.
A meatball.
You got it. You can't forget the meatballs.
Not my spaghetti.
All right. So Two Tones are at 5. John, you're at 4.
Mm-hmm.
We're moving into action adventure. In one of the easiest questions that we've ever had, John, what is Tom Cruise's call sign in Top Gun?
Maverick.
Yeah, pretty much. Bitch, that's the name of the next movie.
His call sign is Maverick.
You can have
in the closet.
So you can have me any day, you Maverick.
No wonder people were getting some homoerotic undertones from that movie.
Overtones, we would say. Anthony, what film tells the story of the African-American mathematicians working for NASA during the space race?
Say that again for me.
What film tells the story of the African-American mathematicians working for NASA during the space race?
This movie is pretty good, wasn't it?
Is this 20th century women? 20th, 21st, 20th century something?
It's Hidden Figures.
Fucking damn it.
Came out around a similar time.
Yeah.
20th Century Women
that
is an
about?
A24 film, if I remember correctly.
Hidden Figures. Makes sense.
Yeah.
But also, yes, a very good movie. Hidden Figures. I vividly remember us being in the apartment during that, and that was one of the movies I was watching to try to get prepped for the Oscars.
Oh.
I don't think that movie got very much love that year at the Oscars. Tone. Backdraft is a movie about which profession, and there are choices.
Oh.
A. Airplane mechanics. B. Ventilation experts.
Okay.
Or C. Firemen.
C. Firemen.
It is indeed firemen.
Why give options? There shouldn't have been options.
That was also just a dumb question. I don't know.
Yeah,
whatever.
you would have known, but I'm just thinking, like,
Right.
why are options necessary for Backdraft? If you've ever been on the Universal Studios Backlot tour, Backdraft is prominently featured.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, it's so hot in here.
Yeah.
All right, so I got 6, and you guys got 5s,
Mm-hmm.
and we're moving into drama musical. John, this is funny. Who earned Oscars for her roles in Kramer versus Kramer and Sophie's Choice?
Would that be Meryl Streep?
I told you there'd be some grumbling.
Yeah.
That is correct, John.
Yeah.
And it only gets easier from there.
Yeah.
You want to see his last question?
Mamma mia,
Want a
John.
preview of
How'd
his
you get
last
so
question?
lucky?
Here I go again. You're going to say that
My eyes just roll out of the back
So
of
you're
my
going
head.
to say that mine was easy until you hear yours. What helps the medicine go down according to Mary Poppins?
Magic. No, I'm just kidding.
What she does is she holds their nose and shoves it in their mouth.
And then goes like this.
A strong sleeper hold.
Swallow, you fuck. Swallow.
A spoonful of sugar.
Sugar.
Nice.
Tone. For your final question.
Second final.
For your second to last question. It's good you said that because I was going to read the wrong one. What is the name of Danny's gang in Greece? Not talking about where the mythological figures come from.
What?
Greece.
Oh. I was like, what? T-Birds.
Wow, good job. It is the T-Birds.
Yeah, I know Grease.
That Rise of the Pink Ladies show,
Got canceled.
yeah, and then erased from existence.
Oh, really? I didn't finish it. God damn it. All right, well, I've got 7, and you guys got 6.
Mm-hmm.
And we're moving into horror sci-fi. John, and probably the easiest question of the game. Who directed the 1968 zombie thriller Night of the Living Dead?
Choke.
That would be George B. George A. Romero is the answer.
That is correct. You got to feature it in every movie, so we featured it in our last episode.
Yep. Anthony, in maybe an easier question, what is the sequel to Alien called?
Well, yeah. I stand corrected.
Well, there's more than one of them.
So then if you had...
So if
that
there were
one, yeah.
multiples
Yeah,
of the
so-
alien, then that would be
Pluralize it.
4 square the hypotenuse. Aliens.
It is aliens. Alien plural, as we'll call it here.
Alien $sign.
Yeah.
All right. So what do you guys got now?
We're both at 7.
Oh.
So it's all tied up. This is the hit me with the thing. I can't do it.
What? Oh.
For the easiest question you've ever been asked in your lifetime, what is your name? No.
Blob.
John? Shit. You had literally 2 choices and you went with the wrong one. Tone. What?
Toad.
What Scream Queen plays Laurel Strode?
Does not say that.
No.
Laurel
plays,
and Hardy Strode.
plays Laurie Having Strid in the Halloween movie franchise.
Guys, I want to get it wrong so that we can all talk.
No, take the dub.
Jamie Lee Curtis.
But in your mind, were you spelling Lee like Leigh?
Yep, because it was
So you're wrong. So, it's actually Lee with 2 E's.
I know what it is.
Yeah, it's Jamie Lee Curtis. There you go.
All right.
Full sweepage.
I'm not mad about it. I have not been on top of my game, so I feel good. The last game goes to the fucking champ.
But wait, there's more.
Yeah, but I officially won. So
Yes.
Damn.
So,
Hey, no attitude. No attitude like that. We all won.
we're all winners.
We're all winners here.
Coming from the guy that it's like I have the crown.
That was back when I was doing well. It's been a while. I think I did streak recently, a couple weeks ago.
No, you did.
but,
You did indeed.
John really came into his own this last year.
yeah.
It's because we added more movies than just horror and sci-fi movies. But we're going to play a little movie game. Some of these are ones that I wrote. Some of these are ones that I found on like Reddit and such. So prepare yourself. These all have some form of horror and sci-fi in at least one of the films. And I believe I cut out...
Do you have an
any of the-
example for the audience in case they are unfamiliar?
All right, well, let's go. We'll just top the first one right off the top here. So, 2 British stoners have to get off their couch to fight zombies and attend a class taught by Robin Williams. So I've taken 2.
Shaun of the Dead Poets Society.
Shaun of the Dead Poets Society is the correct answer, and that is 2 plot synopses squished together to make one film, and then you do the same thing with the titles.
And they have an overlap. So Shaun of the Dead Poets Society.
In this one, some of them will have the
Article removed?
article removed, that sort of a thing.
Ooh.
So
We're removing articles now?
yeah, so ooh.
Okay.
Boom, boom. All right.
What's he got on underneath? Second shirt.
Another portion measure.
All right, so we got quite a few of these, so we'll start digging into them. Are we ready?
Yes, sir.
Ready as I'll ever be.
You ready as we'll ever be.
Mm-hmm.
Like Linda Ellerby. She's host Nick News.
Oh, yeah?
Yep.
Okay, nobody cares.
She does.
Let's play the game.
We're waiting. Shit.
Let's play a game!
An old school monster from swampy depths goes on an underground adventure with his best buds to find rich stuff so he can save his house from developers.
Creature from the Black Lagoonies.
It is indeed the creature from the Black Lagoonies.
He's one of them Lagoonies.
That's French.
All right, next one.
I would like the spaghetti Lagoonies.
All right, tired of his own holiday, the Pumpkin King decides to practice medicine during the Korean War.
That was a turn I wasn't expecting.
Nightmare Before Christmas.
You're almost there.
Master.
No.
Wait, what was the second part?
Practice medicine during the Korean War.
Who was practicing medicine during the Korean War in a film?
Isn't there a movie called The Master?
No. Oh, man, there is a movie called The Master, but this is a much older film.
Oh.
I'll give you one hint for the second part because you have the first part on lock. The second part also was a popular television show.
Nightmare Before Christmas.
Chris Mash.
Indeed, that is the answer.
Nightmare Before Christmas. Sean Connery.
Just,
I mean, you were doing a Jimmy Stewart, so
Yeah,
just
you never know.
imagining Jack Skellington. 'Cause suicide is painless.
That's how he got there in the first place.
Dark.
All right, here's the next one. A murderous machete-wielding killer terrorizes promiscuous camp counselors before magically turning into an adult woman who swiftly finds that being grown up isn't as easy as it seems.
Friday the
Friday the
13th
13th
going on 30.
Yes!
With Mark Ruffalo.
A.K.A. Big Jennifer Garner.
The curator of the Bates Motel goes on a musical journey to the afterlife to discover the secrets of his Mexican heritage.
Psychoco.
It is indeed Psychoco.
I could not remember the name of that movie.
You go, Psychoco.
A giant dormant sea monster is awakened by nuclear radiation and descends upon humanity with a love for music and a desire to open a jazz club.
Godzilla La La Land.
It is indeed Godzilla La La Land.
I actually was trying to rewatch La La Land recently, and I was having a really hard time getting through it. I
Really?
was
Why?
Because I find the characters insufferable. But
I love me some Gosling and some Stone, though.
no, I do too. That's why I was like, "Is this like how much is it of this is intentional?" But I'm sure people who love La La Land would be screaming at me. I'll go back and rewatch it completely. I just probably wasn't in the mood that night.
Yeah.
You know how I can be.
So many times it happens. All right. I'll have what she's having. A heaping plate of Connery and a dollop of literary figures like Tom Sawyer and Captain Nemo teaming up to fight evil.
When Harry Met Sal, League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
That is the correct answer.
I had them both in my head and was just trying to make the like
Connection.
and make my mouth do the thing.
Do
that
the
it does.
things and the stuff.
So that's a phonetic one, though.
Yep, it is a phonetic one.
Because Sally. Interesting.
Yep.
Phonetic. That's when you can like lift stuff with your mind.
Yeah.
In this found footage classic, New York is terrorized by a mysterious monster who just wants to play catch with his dead dad one last time.
Cloverfield of Dreams.
It is indeed Cloverfield of Dreams.
Did you see me just go into like a trance?
I felt like that watching you.
Like that was like your Manchurian candidate phrase.
Fucking-
Just sleeper cell.
that was crazy.
Must kill the queen.
A black man must escape the ill intentions of some white well-to-dos so he can stop a smuggled primate from spreading a deadly virus that could lead to the end of humanity.
Get Outbreak?
It is indeed Get Outbreak. The Dream Master
You need some time off work. Get Outbreak.
The Dream Master terrorizes sleeping teenagers and makes them scream Stella in their sleep.
A Nightmare on Elm Street car named Desire.
Indeed, that is the correct answer.
Stella. In the movie Hollywood Homicide, Josh Hartthrobe's character, got to bring him up one last time, is in a play, and he does a scene from that movie.
Oh, really? I just watched
Indeed.
H2O like 2 nights ago, so Heartthrob has been on my brain.
Heartthrob. A man must survive the murderous intentions of a good guy doll so he and a certain ring salesman can get home to Chicago in time for Thanksgiving.
Child's planes, trains, and automobiles.
That is the correct answer. All right, we got 3 more. Hello, my name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my scientifically engineered monster woman who I plan to bequeath to my scientifically engineered monster man. Prepare to die.
The Princess Bride of Frankenstein.
Indeed it is.
I want to see that movie.
It's pretty cool, right?
That's funny.
A young, love-struck bass player falls head over heels for the new girl, but to win her affection, he must defeat all her former zombie lovers who are spreading across the globe, threatening to end humanity as we know it.
Can you repeat the lot?
Scott
Pilgrim versus the World War Z.
Indeed, that is the answer.
You were getting there. We were getting there.
All right.
What
I wasn't
zombie
doing the
movie
versus
is
the
it?
world. I was Scott Pilgrim Adventures of Billy and Mandy.
Oh, that's pretty good.
All right, last one. A mother's mundane life of laundry and taxes is shaken up when an alternate timeline version of the Manson family is thwarted by a washed-up star and his stunt double.
Everything, everywhere, all at once upon a time in Hollywood.
That is correct.
Yeah, you had to give us that mouthful at the end.
Yeah.
It's a great
I also
job,
like
boys.
how you threw a little Scott Pilgrim in there one last time.
Yeah.
And how at the beginning you specified these have a sci-fi or horror bent to them, so that we would accept that Scott Pilgrim was in that category. Okay, I see you.
I know what I'm doing.
You're like, this is a mission that I'm never going to give up on, even past this show.
Well, that'll wrap it up for the last games of trivia.
Yeah.
Good job, fellas. You killed movie, and I thought that was a blast. So thanks for bringing your A game, John.
Yeah, I didn't bring anything special, set myself.
That's all we ever asked.
You brought the news. That's all that matters.
Yeah, and the deets. Anyway, we're going to take a short break, and then we will get back to you with our main discussion.
Hey, you want to see something really scary?
Welcome
we tried
back.
so hard and got so far.
Okay.
But in the end, it doesn't even matter.
Okay.
And that's the end. Goodbye, everybody.
I hope that in the end it does matter.
Yeah.
Because it meant a lot to me. For our main discussion this week, we are just going to be talking about the show. Doing a little reminiscing and kind of taking a little trip down memory lane, which I guess is redundant because I just said that.
John, if you could put like a nice, like, sad piano track behind this.
All right, so we had mentioned kind of just talking about the origin of the show, and I guess really the origin would go back to, if you had to put it in a time and place, would be you and me talking about doing something, probably 31 Terror Tales, when we did it just to do it together.
Yeah.
And then eventually you got me a mic that we could not figure out how to use
Yeah.
for a really long time. And then I went to my 10-year high school reunion and reconnected with Randy, who was doing his own thing with Black Star and podcasting. He did a lot of sound design.
That's what he does by trade in his regular life.
Yeah.
It's audio work.
And then he wanted to throw something together. And so we came up with doing a horror sci-fi show called Porcelain Peak. And
now the name, because I know a lot of people have been curious about this for a really long time.
is
And cut to black. Show's over.
So finally,
cigarette burn.
Yeah, finally reveal the anticlimactic backstory to the Porcelain Peak name.
I like alliteration.
Yeah.
And I wanted something that sounded kind of creepy. And that's really it. And I thought that like a porcelain peak would be weird. I don't know. And the first thing we did was talk about Lovecraft. And I thought, madness, mountain. Mouth.
Yeah. I think for a long time when I first joined the show, I was annoyed about the name. I remember us talking a lot about changing it at one point.
There's a lot of conversation. I think I was the stick in the mud who was like, we've already established the name.
I honestly didn't know that you could change it for a long time.
Yeah, and then I finally came to the realization that like I liked that it was unique because it didn't really mean anything, but it had a cool sound to it. And most people I've said it to go like, oh, like Crimson Peak, or oh, like Twin Peaks. And I'm like, well, I'm not mad about an association with either of those things. So
Yeah. And we used to have a little spot called Tri Peaks.
yeah.
So and maybe it was all rattling around in there.
So Randy, so you originally started the show with Randy.
We did a show. If you haven't listened to our first episode, I don't blame you. It's pretty rough. But we did a reading of Lovecraft, Cats of Ulthar. And we didn't really know what the format was going to be and where it was going. But then and it was all Randy. We recorded it at his place. He had all the equipment. He edited it all and did everything. And then sent me the file. And he was like, hey, like I got other stuff coming up. I'm not going to be able to do this. And I was pretty bummed because I was like, yeah, we got the ball rolling. Mm-hmm. He was under the assumption that he would get free time. And so I said, hey, I'll sub in John for a few weeks, and he was on board and try to figure out a setup here at this house. And we got my little shady Mac and that mic that you got me, figured out how to get that connected and working. and then
we borrowed a mixer from someone. It was
Carl's
Dominic.
roommate. Yeah.
And he also had a regular microphone as well, and we used that for like a regular like Shure. Do
we still have that?
I think we returned that to Dominic at some point.
Sold that on eBay.
Yeah. Anyway,
But
yeah,
we
so
used
then
those, and the mic that you gave him for it was some form of gift at some point, and then we were in a room of our own making inside of a screen room out in the backyard.
Yeah.
That he made with cardboard and blankets.
to keep the sound in. It worked though, right? I don't know. I don't remember what those old episodes sound like. But then we kind of started to come up with a format. We wanted to do trivia. We wanted to do little bits here and there, and it started to develop. We had Anthony come on a couple times as a guest, and we had a good time with those episodes. And I think that was during season 1.
Yep, during season 1, we had you on for the Love, Death, and Robots.
Which I guess is getting another season. Which is crazy to me. I'm like,
Yeah,
that's the kind of shit that you were doing?
I had totally forgotten that was my first guest appearance on the show. That's crazy.
And then we
with the
invited you
trivia,
to
like
stay.
I'm interested. I know. So we used to play a lot of Pass the Popcorn when we lived together. Which if you haven't played that game, it's a really fun kind of trivia movie game, but not movies trivia game. But yeah, like the whole thing around trivia, was that also something that you came into the show being really interested in doing, John? Because I know that's become most people's favorite part of the show. Like even some of the messages that I got today were people talking about like how much fun they still have listening to the trivia and guessing along and stuff. And I know that's something that we've just always been into because we're always trying to one up each other with our movie knowledge.
I mean, I come from a similar background when it comes to trivia. Like trivia has been a massive part of my life. I love having
Consider
to
yourself a puzzler, right?
Yeah,
You're always
100%.
trying to puzzle things.
So I also during my like upbringing, I had a copy of Pass the Popcorn as well. But I think we started with the Trivial Pursuit horror movie edition, and I think it wasn't my idea. I'm pretty sure you were the one who was like. Do you think we should have like a trivia segment or something? Or I think you came once with a card and you're like, hey, we should try these out.
And I think it was just me to you, right?
Yeah. And then after that, it became more of like a steady thing because we had a lot of fun with it. And I was like, these questions were challenging, but it's a good time. And
that game is good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
so
then eventually we moved from the sun porch into a different room that was empty and just inside of a closet. And then we came into this room inside the closet.
And then you finally came out of the closet.
Then we came out of the closet and turned it into the studio that you see before you if you're watching.
And the show's never been gayer, and it's a good thing.
Yeah, for a little while, once we started into season 2, we had like a little triangle setup where
I was thinking about that the other day. I was like, I missed that. Like that was...
There's me over here.
It was weird imagining that we used to have discussions like that because I'm so used to just like looking in this one direction now and having the discussions this way. But for the longest time, we were doing it in that
triangle formation
because we weren't recording the video, so
yeah.
it really didn't matter. But that did help with conversations.
Well, I'm curious, John. I don't know if I've ever really heard your perspective on this, and then I'll go into kind of like where my head was at with that first season and everything, and joining. But did you? Was being on a podcast something that you had wanted to do before joining? Were you a big podcast listener before joining onto the show? I'm kind of trying to ask like where your head was at in terms of like, did you feel? I assume at least for the first couple episodes, you felt like you were just going to be coming on as a favor to help him out, and didn't think it was going to be anything long term.
Yeah, that was definitely the expectation was like I'd always wanted to try out podcasting. Like I listened to Aaron Mankey's Lore and some other.
We were all super obsessed with that. Yeah,
it was fucking good for a minute.
Yeah, but so like I was like really into the idea of podcasting. And there were some like content creators who did stuff on YouTube who I had seen kind of move into having like a podcast as part of like their list of things that they did. And as somebody who was already like in the content creation space doing movie reviews with the Entertainment Vortex, I think it might have been at The Source at the time. But that was like I was like, it gave me more opportunity to talk about stuff that I really loved. You know, horror and sci-fi has been a huge part of my life. And so being able to have more conversations about that, I was like, even if it's just for 2 or 3 episodes, I'm down. And then you asked me, you're like, hey, Randy's projects are getting bigger than he thought they were going to, so he's not going to come back. And what's really cool is getting to see some of the work that he's done in the interim, because he did everything with Black Star, but he also was a huge contributor of the sound design and everything for, there's a video game called Chris Tales that I believe if you have Game Pass, you can get on Game Pass if you want to check out. So shout outs to Randy for doing some really cool creative work. He's worked on a few different like video games and I think some other projects as well since we started the show, which I think is super cool.
And John saying that he had some bigger his projects started getting bigger is a really nice way of saying that Randy sat on his own balls and had to be rushed to the hospital, much like Mr. Belvedere.
But he asked me to join the show full time at that point, and then we
knew nothing really.
Yeah,
I mean, it was all kind of figuring out as we go in terms of setting it up, in terms of the right kind of mics, in terms of even editing.
Yeah,
like we had no fucking idea what we were doing.
You were doing the editing at the time because I
had dabbled.
I think I had like an old shitty HP computer at the time. I didn't even have a Mac.
Crazy.
That is crazy.
Yeah, it's a long time ago. But I remember sitting down and like doing a shit ton of research on.
And it was on my like 11-year-old computer.
Yeah, we did the entire first season on that computer.
R.I.P. baby boy.
Did you have any expectation at the time that the show would go on for any like substantial amount of time? Did you think? Because I know you did your passion project.
Tried to
do because
we both got
our first collaboration in terms of podcasting was through that. Was
yours and mine and mine and his.
Yeah, doing interviews for that, and I did the cover artwork for that. I remember making that. I think when we already lived here, I remember being in that back room and talking with you about it. But and that because of the work that went into that and getting guests, it didn't last a super long time. And so, did you think that this would be something similar? Did you feel like maybe this had legs, or did you not really care at the time? You just kind of were like, let's just do this because we think it's going to be fun. And
I mean, that was kind of the thing. Is like at first, like I thought I was just going to be filling in, and then he asked me to be permanent. And at that point, like
yes, you'd be his Tilda Swinton.
Exactly. I was the Rock, but I did a bunch of research on audio quality, and that's why audio quality like improved by a pretty significant margin. As we moved further into the season, we played around with a lot of the settings and adjusted some things in GarageBand, which is what we were using at the time, in order to try to make things sound a little better. We ended up upgrading my mic. It was a gift from you. It was a Blue Yeti. I had that for an entire season.
Still have that laying around somewhere.
I do still have it at the house. Or no, I think it's here somewhere. Yeah. And it was, I think we used that up until, because you ended up using the microphone I was using for the first couple episodes you were on, and then we got you that mic, which is an Audio-Technica 2020. AT 2020. And then I ended up getting one myself because we lost all of my audio on one of the episodes we had Randy on, which was for
the Friday the 13th retrospective, or was it the Flanagan?
It was the Flanagan stuff. It was for
both haunting seasons we covered.
Yeah, my audio was like absolute dog shit, and at that point we made the decision to upgrade more equipment. So I bought another one of these mics, and then eventually we ended up upgrading yours as well to make a consistent sound. But that's that journey.
That's technical.
But aside from the technical stuff, in that first season, like we started having fun. I think that like we had a few listeners here and there. We didn't have a big presence on social media, but we tried. And like some people were listening to the show, and we started having a really good time with it. Started to find kind of our footing with format
and get comfortable.
Yeah,
I think at least I feel like I was probably a little bit stiff at the beginning there.
Yeah, but as it became more conversational and more just like the same shit we would talk about without the mics, with the mics, it was like, this is fun, and it's something I would listen to. Something that I did for a little while, regularly listen to.
Yeah, I was thinking about that the other day too, when we were doing more heavy editing, and when I was doing a ton of the editing myself and was listening to all of our episodes after the fact. Yeah, I haven't listened really to any of our episodes for like this entire season, but except to pull clips, to scrub through and pull clips for the social media.
Can't be listening to your own shit, man. We're not Kanye.
Well, I think definitely not Kanye. Jesus.
Jesus.
Yeah.
You walked into that one, but
I did. Yeah. So also for anybody who maybe doesn't know this, I know we've done Q&As in the past, but I do think also people might be interested to know kind of where we met each other, because I think people might assume that this is how we met, was through this podcast, but that ain't the truth. So don't fucking believe it. In reality, I've known this guy Tone since 2011.
Holy shit.
Yeah, my freshman year of college.
Okay.
We met in an art class.
Shocker.
Yeah.
Not by Tom Savini's uncle.
Yeah. Well, we met in an art class. We got paired up because we were both named Anthony, and
So fuck it.
yeah, and we just ended up chatting because we would have assignments where we would have to sit across from each other and
Didn't we
draw
sculpt
each
each other's
and sculpt
faces?
each other. Yeah. So because you're having to stare at this dude that you barely know, we just started chatting, and one of the first things we talked about was we both were really into Tim Burton movies, and then we just started talking about movies and horror movies in general. And really, my like intense love of horror movies didn't start to grow until I met you, because I was like, oh, this is a thing that other people like. I always just thought it was something that I was kind of into since being a kid and freaked out by. And I think even at that period, I still wasn't like desensitized to horror, so stuff still freaked me out. But
Totally.
then we started doing things like when we didn't see each other a lot, but when we did, it would be to get together to go see The Conjuring or whatever it was. And so we
Go to shows sometimes.
go to shows, yeah. And so we became friends that way, and kind of like went in and out of each other's lives for a while. And then eventually there was an extended period of time where we lived together in college, and then ended up in this house together. I worked where John currently works at Peach, the Peach Corporation.
And coincidentally, I was working at a place with John's wife, and we did not know that. And we were living together, and we didn't know
obviously
that there was that
we were
connection.
married. Yeah, well, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You and Miss Jig were living together.
Yeah.
And so one day I think she was like, hey, my husband works with your roommate or something. And I was like, wait, what?
And we've just had nothing but weird, like
Coincidental
matchups of people since then. But
Totally. Yeah.
yeah, so then I remember at work, not knowing much about you, John, outside of the fact that you were married, and
What a jump.
and that you wore joggers. That was pretty much all I knew about you.
Yeah.
And that you had a dope beard. And then as time progressed, both through you and through Nick, I started realizing that you guys were into movies, and we started having more just movie conversations. And then, I kind of went down a dark spiraling path, which I've talked about, very openly on the show before. But I'm a recovering alcoholic. That was a
Dark period.
of my life when these guys ended up starting the podcast. So there were very good reasons why I was not a part of that in the first season, and should not have been. So it's good I wasn't around. You wouldn't have wanted to listen to that, even if the audio quality had been good. But so yeah, really, the whole first season went by, and I remember thinking like, these guys are so fucking lucky that they did the thing that I've wanted to do, because I've been a podcast listener for back when I used to just listen to. Well, I used to listen to NPR, and because NPR had shows that they spun off into podcasts, I would then listen to like Radiolab and stuff, and then I started finding podcasts of different genres and comedy and movies. And I wanted to start one so bad, which is part of why I got you that microphone. I was like, yeah, maybe we can start something.
Let's do it. Yeah.
And so I was a bit jealous that first season. And
Now you just got to get me a camera.
Yeah. So then once the opportunity opened up in the beginning, it was really just for me to come on and help you guys come up with a new logo for the second season.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we
And
did it, and there's that fucking bad boy right there.
Yeah, it's there, and it's
now
right
it's on
here.
us forever. Yeah. So I designed this logo, did a little revamp, and then came on to do a guest episode. This was after the Love, Death, and Robots one. I did a guest episode with you guys where you kind of just interviewed me, and this was when you had already decided that you wanted to open or extend the invitation for me to join the show. So I came on and did like a little test interview episode, which would be really interesting to go back and listen to if you guys want to scroll back on the feed and listen to my first episode, because I was definitely very stiff.
Probably not
very
jaded
awkward.
yet
Yeah.
on the whole fucking genre.
Yeah.
Yeah, and very fresh, very
Very green.
little boy, very green. Yeah, and so
Totally.
it started that way, and then because graphic design is my passion, I decided that I was going to kind of take over the branding aspect and the social media aspect, and
that shit exploded.
yes, and then I just started putting a fuck ton of work into networking, and the show really took off from there. And that's when I think in the second season when we really started solidifying the segments, and then moving in from season 2 to 3 is when we started like branding things. I don't know if it was still season 4 when like names like Chop Talk and Final Cut came along, because for the longest time we were just calling it news, and then we had a watch list at the end.
Yeah.
We toyed around. It evolved.
Yeah, it becoming Chop Talk, Trivia, Main Discussion, and Final Cut were the sections we had at the time. Having so much content is part of the reason why we almost didn't do a season 5, was because coming up with all of that, all of what we still do plus a Final Cut, which was oftentimes
Plus
just more
bonuses,
movies and
plus
things.
commentary. Like,
Yeah.
we put a lot on our plates.
Yeah, and I think that was in an effort to try to make it a thing, make it like a permanent staple thing. And I think that I mean, as much as we could continue doing the exact same stuff, I just think that now, even having removed some of it off of our plate, I don't think that we're in a place where this does enough anymore.
It doesn't always tickle my creative itch.
It
And I
tickles
know
my
that-
have a fun conversation itch.
Yeah, and I know that like we did some trivia bonuses where we were coming up with stuff, and that kind of got us there for a while. But then that became difficult for us all to do, and we wouldn't always remember. And I mean, at one point we stopped the show in the middle.
Yeah, and it was
because I was in grad school at the time.
You were in grad
And I
school.
just could not
Well,
do it all.
There was also like a personal loss at that point in time as well.
Oh,
yeah. I mean, and
his virginity.
Yeah. I mean, and but I mean, it was really hard during that time specifically, because I believe it was in the middle of season 3.
That was tough.
And so we stopped, and we didn't think we were going to be able to do it anymore.
I needed a break.
I mean,
for my mental health.
Yeah, the break definitely helped for sure, and I think that.
And I got that fucking degree, so at least it was worth it.
And then
a master of none.
and then COVID hit. Too.
And then COVID hit.
Yeah, I mean, it was rough.
Made for an especially depressing period of time. But
then the movie that fucking brought us back.
Huge shout out to Lee Winnell for
fucking
saving
Invisible
the podcast.
Man, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still maybe one
I
of
just
the
got
best
chills
movies we
thinking
watched.
about it.
Yeah, it was one of the best movies we've watched for the show wholesale.
Well, and I think a lot of that just goes into like when it hit, and the fact that it was like the last movie I saw before COVID really went into full COVID mode. And that was also
It's just a random like January release too, wasn't it?
Yeah, but it felt so awesome to walk out of that, and we all just were in agreement that like we need to get on mic and we need to talk about this, even if it, because at the time I remember us even saying like, even if that doesn't mean we're coming back and doing the show for more than just that episode, we at least want to come back and do that episode. So we came back for Invisible Man, and then once we did that, I think we all kind of realized like, yeah, we missed doing this. I mean, we knew the whole time. Like, we were texting back and forth. Like, I really hope that he pulls through what he's going through, and we get back into the swing of it, because, that was a time where I was like still, head over heels, like, and especially not being employed for a year during COVID for me. Like, all I had in my life was watching 6 movies a day. That was when I was like,
I was sad. I was on benders. I couldn't do it.
Well, I mean,
I think that the lesson we should definitely take from that is that it's pretty fucking impressive that we were able to keep this thing going for 5 seasons and 240 episodes.
Yeah, 240 as of this episode.
Yeah, 240 episode. And
well, what's in a 10?
And we've all been through a lot of shit over that time.
God,
there are definitely episodes where I talk about ex-girlfriends that I'm not with anymore. There are episodes,
I don't have that problem, but
there are episodes where I talk about jobs that I no longer have that ended horribly and things like that. Like, there's just been a lot of
since we've started, I think I've worked at like 4 different places or 5 different places.
I'm
We
the
did an
only one
entire-
with any consistency.
we
will say
we did an entire October with me in Tennessee.
Oh shit!
Remember, we did an entire
Yeah.
Terror Tales where I was having to very depressedly watch all of our Terror Tales stuff from my
Forgot
hotel
about
room
that.
in Tennessee, with giant fucking Tennessee bugs getting into the hotel room, and I was just like weeping every day. I just missed you guys, and I missed being home, and it was awful.
tough, dude.
And I I hated it, but it showed me that absence makes the heart grow fonder. And yeah, it was rough, but
I mean,
it's so weird thinking about like the different iterations that the show has gone through also, because
we had the music was one thing, and then we changed it almost every season. We had Randy do it. We got Roger Jackson involved. I think we did it, the first one, and then we had Randy do one, and I think, did we do a second one?
So we took some things and we kind of revamped some of the segment musics.
Oh, that's right. And then we had my buddy Jeff, shout out to Jeff, do one, and I think he did this one, right?
Yeah, we had Constance come in
and
do a little intro for us for a long time. We had a special camp song that we put together when we started doing our camp segments every summer.
Yeah,
which was,
shout out to Miss Jig and Ashley the intern for helping us out with that.
That was a fun thing we threw into the mix, was our summer camps. I remember the first year.
Yeah.
I remember, I think this was because I bring them up all the time at pretty much the channel that I've followed for a long time. They had a summer camp segment on their YouTube channel years ago where they recorded all their episodes outdoors around a campfire. And I remember, I was getting hyped for summer, and I had never watched all the Friday the 13th movies. And I remember we were like, let's do a summer camp theme and talk about Friday the 13th. But then we also got to talk about Madman and the Burning
with Radio Nasties boys.
Nasties. Yeah, we had an awesome summer camp that year. It was fucking awesome. Like, it was just great. It was a blast.
Amount of movies that I have watched during these 5 years that I probably would not have watched. Not all of them winners, but there are some in there that are so fucking good that I will want to take with me forever.
Or just movies that I have a completely different perspective on because I had the opportunity to have a long thought out conversation on it with you guys, or movies I've gone back to revisit and either liked more or liked less. Like,
did we ever actually talk about Arrival on the show?
I don't know if we. I mean, that
would be pretty hilarious if we went the whole show referencing
funny.
your favorite 2016 film, but not actually
the best
ever
movie of
reviewing
2016.
it. Yeah. No, I agree.
Yeah,
but I mean, we've also
fucking funny.
We made some great connections with some individuals who run other shows. With some filmmakers. I mean, we've talked to so many different people on the show, and that show's given us a platform for that.
We had set out to do. Like, I remember we talked about how we wanted to eventually. I mean,
on a smaller scale.
Yeah, there was a period of time where we thought that there was potential for the show to, we were taking on sponsorships, and we were getting, we had the interview with Richard Oakes and Adam Leader, and we were getting screeners, and I mean, I got to see 2 of their movies ahead of time because of the relationship that we formed with them. I saw Hosts and I saw Feed Me like a couple months before that came out because what's the actor's name?
Neil.
I know he's Neil or something.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, I'm so sorry that I can't remember your name off the top of my head. It'll come to me. It'll pop in my head. But him just reaching out on Twitter just because he remembered that we had and you manned that whole interview by yourself because we both flicked on it,
sweating
that day.
Neil Ward is his name.
Neil Ward,
yeah.
But we had that connection.
Yeah, I think you guys had to work, and I was able to. I might have been unemployed too.
Yeah,
or something. Yeah,
I was talking with the Elm Street boys about this earlier because when I first kind of popped in on the social media, I had this dream of like one day we will be in the inner circle of, to me, what I thought at the time were like the upper echelon inner circle of horror podcast shows, which was a podcast on Elm Street at the time, the Creepy Crap podcast with Daniel Crapster from Australia, Radio Nasties. Some of those shows no longer exist, but
I hope everybody's
Extreme
doing well.
Horror Replay.
Extreme Horror Replay, all shows that we ended up collaborating with extensively, and also
Wasn't the Fangirls was one of them?
Fangirls,
they were great.
Yeah, all people that we made friends with. That
what's that? What about the 2 from LA? What were their names?
Oh,
Fear the Talking Queers.
No.
All right, talking about
is it women or
it was a woman and a man.
It's the one where they would watch the beginning and watch the end, and then come up with the thing in the middle.
And we did the Scream
something
episode.
Spoils something.
I don't know.
Something spoils everything. Spoil everything podcast.
Yeah. That's one, but there's another one that I can't remember. They were like actors.
Shoot.
We had them on a couple times. They played trivia.
Yeah, it
with
was
us.
Roshane and Erica.
Yes.
What's the show called?
Homies of Horror.
Yes.
Homies of Horror. There we
Thank
go.
you. Anyway, yeah.
And trust us, this is not because we have forgotten about those shows. It's just a lot to remember. Like we've done a lot more than I think we realized until we're just now listening. And I'm like, oh shit, we did do a lot more guest stuff than I ever realized. But those are now like for me in like the people that I made friends with. Like they felt like my legitimate friends who happen to just live in other countries or across the country. But I talk to a lot of you guys all the time, and a lot of you have become really close personal friends for me.
Gotta throw Chuck and Ruff. Go to the movies there too.
Chuck, Chuck Norris. I mean,
there's so many people
that
that we
dude and I
gotta
talk
shout
like
out,
every day. Steven, I mean, I know he wasn't part of a podcast, but he's guested on things and has become one of my absolute best friends. Somebody that I love talking to.
And he's across the country.
Chloe, Gore Girls, has been a huge
She's in a different country.
Forever. But yeah, Mark and Brooke from a podcast on Elm Street.
Also in a different country, but a little closer.
Yeah, I always looked up to those guys. I still do. They're now starting a second show called Podcast on Fury Road. Like, I still look up to you guys for the amount of work that you put into your stuff and the fact that you've been doing it for so long. But yeah, there's
Josh,
so
the
many
horror movie crew.
Yeah. We were just talking. He messaged me yesterday, 2 days ago, and asked me what I thought of Talk to Me, and he was like, "I need somebody more intelligent than me to discuss this with." And I was like,
"You might be barking up the wrong tree."
Yeah,
brother.
I was like, "I don't know about more intelligent, but I definitely want to shoot the shit about this movie." And we had a great long conversation like just yesterday. So yeah, Josh and everyone at Horror Movie Crew. But yeah, the fact that we were able to collaborate with everyone, we got to do like that big Lord of the Rings episode with everybody.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
I didn't.
On
You guys
Chuck's
did.
show,
yeah, we did. And then we did the Dumb and Dumber episode with Chuck because he had said that he
fun.
didn't like Dumb and Dumber. So we did an episode about that with him.
Yeah, and that's the first time I've ever thought someone's opinion was wrong.
I've done guest episodes on Chuck's show. I did It's a Wonderful Life. I did. I did. I believe, didn't we? We all did A Nightmare Before Christmas with Chuck.
We did.
Yeah, I did both versions of Maniac with the Elm Street guys. I think I've done at least a couple other collaborations on both of their channels that I'm just forgetting now.
You were on one of the Crewbies things for Horror Movie Crew.
Yeah, I was on the Cocktails, or in my in my case, Buds with the Crew, and chatted mostly about Scream and just like horror stuff that we loved with Josh from Horror Movie Crew. But yeah, tons of awesome collaborations, and then being able to bring Randy back onto the show, like we had said earlier,
for
to
a
do,
few different collaborations.
the Haunting of Hill House and Haunting of Bly Manor episode. He came in for some of our Jurassic stuff when we were doing.
Joined us on some of the streams.
Yeah, that's the thing that I totally forgot about, is that we had our Twitch stream going for a little bit and at least got through 3.5 Resident Evil games.
Yeah. Well, and now there's a better version of that Resident Evil game too, so I'm like,
Hey.
Could happen. We might bring the Twitch back at some point.
Yeah.
You know, never say never, but
That could be our new weekly hang. Just watching John play Resident Evil.
yeah.
But yeah, so that was
so
super fun. And then being able to continue the Terror Tales, but do them collaboratively with people, like having people submit movies and then having a big list to pare down. And
Watch some of the best and some of the worst movies we've seen through the entire run of the show because of the Terror Tales.
well, in Terror Tales, I think it was also where kind of the theme thing that we now kind of adopted for at least the latter half of this season kind of originated, because I still very fondly especially remember the year where we did like Giallo, Hammer, comedy horror, and something else.
Probably just Halloween again.
Halloween, yeah. But doing the Terror Tales every year and having those be a thing where like I could put up the lists every year and have people give their thoughts on the movies, and us being able to carry that tradition and make it even bigger and better as the years have gone on.
Probably something I'll
really
still
awesome.
do, maybe just not 31.
I was even thinking of trying to do like maybe an alphabetical list this year,
Oh, okay.
since I got the roulette on the brain or something. But,
You're gonna have to come up with a few extra though.
yeah.
Another fun thing that we got to do collaboratively as well during that time of the year was Terror Tunes, making our little playlists. Those are
I
still
was-
available.
It was
I was
mostly you,
driving
John,
to-
and I thank you for it, for all the hard work that
Well,
you
the
put
first
in.
one was definitely collaborative.
Yeah.
And then we were like,
Yeah.
are there any more Halloween songs?
And I was like, hold my beer. I got
Pretty
you.
much, yeah. I was actually just listening to that the other day. I was like, I need to get in the spooky mood. What can I listen to? And I was like, oh wait,
I got
there's
four whole playlists.
Yeah, and I was like, here we go, and it was perfect. It was just what I needed.
Yeah, and then the most like current iteration of the show was when we decided to start doing this on YouTube and recording everything, and that changed up kind of the style. And something that I kind of wanted to get around to is talking about how the show has impacted other parts of our life, because that's something that I have realized, especially in the last year and a half, is really how much this has impacted really massively other parts of my life. I mean, outside of the last couple relationships I've been in, the person having to get used to me having a day that I go hang out with the boys and do a podcast, or like my whole family is now used to the idea of asking me like, when are you doing the podcast?
Yeah.
My boss, when's the podcast? You guys still doing the podcast? Everybody's showing lots of interest and support in that.
When we decided to end things, and I mentioned it to people, they were like, "What?"
Yeah,
like people were like, "Why?"
It's become a part of
our
people
routine.
identify us with the show, and
yes,
it's crazy.
I mean, as far as impact goes, I mean, at first it was just impacting physically, where it's like, how the fuck are we gonna do this?
Yeah,
and
all the people,
physically, like your butthole.
Yeah,
yeah.
I had to clench it, but also like having to worry about other people being loud, because at the time I was living with other people.
There's a packed house when you started.
Yeah. Now living alone, it's not so much of an issue, except for my dogs, which is also something that happened as the show started. Is I got dogs,
The porcelain pets.
yeah, the porcelain pups. And it brought me a lot of joy. Like John was saying at the beginning, it was great, and then when I was going through, my turmoil or whatever, it was tough. And there was definitely times when the show did feel more of a chore than anything else.
Yeah.
And that was hard, especially at that time.
Some of that was also you were doing a lot of the work. I mean, like if you think about it, like at that time, I still didn't have a computer. I would show up for the show and I would do as much like research and things as I could. But I mean, as far as like being able to support with editing, I didn't have the ability to do that yet. And I think that part of what helped us get over the hump once you got back into the saddle of things was I bought a computer and
we split everything up.
We split a lot of the duties.
Yeah,
you took over social media.
Throughout the course of the show,
we've all sat on the desk.
Yeah, and so that was hugely helpful, I think, in us kind of getting used to what our show sounded like out from an outside perspective, and also just I learned a lot about editing audio, things that I still use in the work that I do, and people liked the sound of our show and the little like technical qualities of it and the editing and stuff, and that's when I realized I was very thankful that you guys had figured most of that out before I came on board.
Took a lot of research and a lot of work.
I totally agree that there were parts. I mean, there have been times throughout the show where I've just been like, oh God, like we're still doing this. Like, I'm like not really into it anymore, and I kind of want to do something else.
Until we get here and we're doing it, and then I'm like, oh, that's right.
That's always what it was. Is like as soon as I got in the room with you guys, I was like, yeah, I was fucking wrong, and my brain is broken.
But that is why we pared down the show in a lot of ways. Like, we got rid of Final Cut. We changed the bonus episodes to be very simplistic. Even the episodes now are really simple.
Yeah, I stopped putting quite as much work into trying to figure out every single bit of news that people might find interesting. Yeah. Like, I pared Chop Talk down to just like the things I personally thought would interest us based on what we had talked about or what we were into. And then really just kind of going into this, especially this last season, with the mentality of let's make sure we're having fun with this, and let's make sure that that's the most important thing.
And it has been. I think that this season has been one of the more fun seasons, just in terms of not being stressed about it. And I know that we're really not doing too much editing anymore because, I mean, I think part of it is like we're over it, but also I think part of it is we've gotten better.
Yeah, we've improved as public speakers, and I think that that's helped in my professional life by a significant margin. I think that the ability to have an eloquent conversation isn't something that was a problem for me.
I don't know if anybody listening to this show would say that our conversations are eloquent, John,
but I'm saying,
I know what he means.
I'm saying the control of not necessarily following into the likes and ums of the world. Like, it's a little, I do it right after. It's not something that's as necessary to just continue my thoughts. I have a better connection between my brain and my mouth than I did before, and I think that that's been to my benefit by a significant amount.
Yeah, I think we've all gotten a lot better at.
Yeah, this. I think my ability to like structure my thoughts, especially around movies, like and my ability to talk about movies in a in a, like you said, eloquent, in a
Analytical.
well thought out analytical way. And the way I look at movies and watch movies, like I don't know how much of that's going to fade away if we don't end up coming back to doing like any sort of movie show in the future or anything. Because really, I think my brain now is just programmed in the way that I watch movies to think like...
Well, even just like you were talking about Zombievers in our bonus. Like, yeah, that movie's not Oscar quality, but you're finding things about it that make sense in the way that it's shot. Maybe you wouldn't have done that.
Like watching
5
Zodiac,
years
I was
ago.
just marveling at the amount of insert shots and thinking about how those were probably a different person's hands and filmed on a different day, and like that's the stuff that my brain is constantly doing. And then also while I'm watching a movie, I'm also almost always thinking, especially if it's something for the show, but even if it's not, I'm always thinking like, what are my thoughts on this going to be when I talk with you guys about it? And that's always on my mind when I watch something.
Are they going to be mirrored? Is there going to be like dissenting opinions and things like that? That's always something that I didn't have a problem with thinking about, because I mean, most of our movie discussions would be in passing at work or just at a party having a conversation.
If you disagreed with someone, you could just be like, I got an appointment I got to get to.
Yeah, I got to see a man about a horse. Get out of here. But I mean, coming in and say, and being able to say, at first it was coming in and saying, oh, my argument I feel like is watertight, and these are the things that I feel about this movie, and I'm the right opinion. Mm-hmm. And then over time, as we all got better eyes, got to use our special eyes.
But also, I think on top of that, like being able to listen to what somebody else is saying and
take that in.
Yeah, exactly.
Truly listen.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the point I was getting after, was that as time went on, I valued the amount of dissenting opinions that came my way, because I mean, most of the time I'm usually more positive on a movie than anybody else is. But I mean, true. I don't think I ever left a conversation
except Fifth Element.
Yeah, except for that one. I don't think I ever left a conversation feeling like I liked a movie less, but that I had a different perspective that I could take, and that I could see these potential flaws, or just being able to look at something from a different light.
Yeah, I mean, you guys have definitely seen things and heard things and noticed things in these movies that we've watched that went way over my head. And so that's always cool for me to get those perspectives from you guys. But then additionally, like I've gone into movies and been like, I don't know how I feel about that. But after talking, and I think we've all said this, and actually discussing this movie, it could have swayed my opinion on it, because I might maybe understand something more or like it less, because it's like, oh yeah, you're right, that was shitty.
Yeah.
And stuff like that.
Exactly the same from my perspective. Like I'm not... A lot of time when I go to see a movie, especially in the theaters, I'm like absorbed, and I don't always
trying to be.
Yeah, I try to be, and I don't always pick up on things that maybe to you seemed obvious connections or themes going on. And so yeah, I love that excitement of walking out of a new horror or sci-fi movie, or even just whatever the new movie is, and just waiting for you guys to have seen it, or usually you're the first and then it's waiting for us. But whatever case it is, waiting so that everybody is on board so we can all start texting about it, and then hopefully get on the show and start talking about it and fleshing everything out. But really, for me too, my passion and my love for movies in general, I don't think would be anywhere close to what it is now without this show and the amount of movies that we have had to watch for the show. But like, I now spend a lot of my time watching just, older movies and classic movies, and movies that are considered classics that I had never seen before, things that have popped up on this movies trivia game. So not even necessarily just horror and sci-fi. But like being able to go to like my love of horror also has just grown exponentially. Like I'm sure I would have been really into it without having to do this show, but like, being able to go to Monsterpalooza and be able to go like, we've watched that and talked about it, and that and that and that and that and that
meet,
and
like,
that
people we
and
look
meet
up
people
to,
that and we've talked about their work, and being able to go like, I feel like I'm really a part of this community through this show. Like that's what's bonded us to the rest of this horror community. But yeah, I mean, now I'm like, I was telling John last week, like I'm itching to the point where it's just like it's a pain now to film something, to make something, and I don't know, it's always something I've been kind of interested in, but I think just through doing the show, it's just become such a massive part of my life. Like, just movies are just such a...
Movies in general, I think, first and foremost, yeah, we gravitate toward horror and sci-fi, but I think we're all just movie lovers.
Yeah.
And the art of it, and even the viewing experience of it. I think we all just fell in love with that, and it stayed with us, and we just decided to go in this direction specifically because I think we all kind of... we're spooky kids.
Yeah.
So that's kind of just the turn it
Scary
took. But
kids,
really,
scary
at the end of
kids.
the day, we all just love movies.
Yeah, I think that sums up a lot of like what the impetus was, why we decided that this was something that was necessary for us, and I think that it started from a place of we love these things, we love film, we love TV, we love this content that we're getting to
or even
enjoy.
just telling spooky stories together, or talking about nonfiction stuff. Like, that was probably the highlight of this season. At least one of the big highlights of this season was when we did our nonfiction November, and got to cover Vlad the Impaler and Houdini and the Warrens,
Those were fun.
and Jack the Ripper. Like, that was
Warrens
awesome.
is still one of our highest watched episodes, aside from the one that's behind your head, Everything Everywhere All at Once. That one, I think,
Time in Hollywood. Yeah.
Yeah, if
And
we
getting to
get
do all that
those views-
research, but getting to do all that research into those topics and learn so many things about Houdini that I never would have known otherwise, or about the Warrens being hack frauds, and about Vlad the Impaler maybe actually not being so bad a dude, historically speaking, in the perspective of
people, his home country.
Yeah.
of his home country. Yeah,
Yeah.
but just like, I feel like I've learned a shit ton from this show. Not only,
He put the cool in Dracula.
well, and also like through Chop Talk, just learning a ton about how the industry works. Like, because we've discussed so much shit has happened.
we
Like, it's
predicted
crazy.
shit because of how much we've learned.
Yeah,
But talking about like the
talk to me.
yeah, really, as this whole streaming thing has evolved, like we've really covered a ton of shit around
been crazy.
the weird, crazy games that have happened with studios merging, studios buying things and disappearing, and coming up with streaming services. Like, I remember when Disney Plus first became a thing, and we were talking about The Mandalorian coming out, and
It's been a while. I feel like that's another way that my life has been impacted. Was that we know about the stuff, and then I can take that and like talk to other people about it, because people
I have
a
long discussions
vague
with my
idea of
boss
some
all
of
the
it.
time
Yeah.
about the industry.
But
And,
even like
and-
with my nieces and my sister, like getting them involved in the show and being able to talk to them, I feel like that's maybe not been the strongest part of the relationship, but I think it's definitely helped in that regard. It's like, hey, you want to talk about this? Or she listens sometimes, and
yeah,
the
I mean,
girls
seeing your
listen,
nieces in
like,
Porcelain Peak shirts, like, and having your niece at Monsterpalooza with us was
Yeah.
pretty amazing. Getting to go to a Hocus Pocus panel with your
Right.
niece was
Yeah,
pretty
exactly. And I
magical.
don't think that we would have gotten to do those things without this.
Yeah.
There's only one thing missing, baby. John Brasher.
Yeah. I mean, I know that this is challenging. Saying like, hey, that it's time. I mean, because I mean, it started off as just a couple of guys wanting to talk
Being
about
dudes.
movies. Yeah.
Up to
And
no
at
good.
the end of it, I mean, this was our therapy session. This was our place to talk about how we felt about things, talk about the world and how much cinema impacts that space. And I think that being able to have these conversations and to connect with you and with the two of you, and like I said, it's been something that's kept me sane during some of the most turmoil-filled years of probably history. And I think that being able to push past that and really have some great discussions.
I mean, that's
is just,
probably my biggest worry about ending the show.
yeah.
Is not seeing you guys like
I mean,
scheduled motherfuckers.
yeah, I know, but I mean, I think that's part. I mean, I said it earlier in the show. We have to keep the fire going.
well, and that's
Carry
what
the fire, baby.
Yeah.
that's what I've been. When people ask me about like why we do the show, or really the thing that I always say is, when you're an adult, it is so hard to have friends. It's just hard to
Yeah.
have friends
Yeah.
because you have so much of your own shit going on that you have to be responsible for and that you have to take care of.
And it's like you spend all day at work, so you're gonna hang out with work people. Like,
Yeah.
your choices, I feel like, become pretty limited.
Well, and especially with the type of people we are, where we can get in so much into our own heads that, this was a way to it was forcing ourselves to get together every week, but we knew it was something that we all needed for our own mental health, and we knew it was something that was good for us most of the time. And the longer this went on, and the more we realized, like, okay, yeah, maybe we're not going to become famous on this, or, but then we all kind of decided, like, but that doesn't matter, because the thing that's more important to us is that we get to see each other every week, and that we have, as good a time now as when we were doing it back in season 2, or, and that we have a blast, and that there were enough people listening and chatting with us and telling us that this was an important part of their Mondays. The thing that really sticks out to me the most is people talking about listening to the show to get through their workday. And I've heard that from multiple people, and I'll be reading some messages here in a little bit from people who said some really nice things. But that's what I did with podcasts that I really loved, that it was like a way to get through the workday, to feel like you were hanging out with friends while you were doing some tedious shit that you didn't want to do. And if we could, if you felt like we were hanging out in the room with you and you were shouting trivia with us, like, that is the feeling that I wanted this show to be the entire time. And the fact that it was that for a lot of people is magic. Like, for me, that's
I love that.
Like, that's magic. Like, the things that really, that and storytelling, like, which to me, this is, kind of a part of that. It's all communication. And the fact that we live in an age where we were able to do this show and make friends who live in other countries and in other states, and even when we were apart, like, being able to stay in communication through the show and that kind of stuff, like, it's magic. It's, it blows my mind to think about how different my life would be if
we hadn't done this for 5 years, or
when Randy had decided he couldn't do it, if you had been like, well, fuck, and just turned it in then and decided not to do it, like, that
easily could have, dude.
Yeah, when you said that,
you've turned shit down for less.
Yeah, I had like a chill down my spine when you were talking about that, because I was like, yeah, you very easily could have just made the decision of, okay, then I'm not going to continue doing this.
I was like, hey, can you just send me the audio anyway, and I'll figure it out.
Yeah, or if John hadn't been available at the time, because John is always crazy fucking busy and has a family.
Yeah.
And so if he hadn't been available and you hadn't been able to continue it on your own, then it never would have gone long enough for me to get my shit straight. And that's the other thing that, like, again, I've talked about this on the show, but I don't have a lot of confidence in the idea that I would have stayed sober for as long as I have if I didn't have something like this to put my time and energy in, especially during the pandemic. I don't know if that would have been possible for me.
So the scariest things that any of us has ever have to deal with in our adult lives. And I mean, I think that the fact that we had something to go back
knowing
to.
I had to keep my shit together for you guys so that I could be here to do the show, and then for the people who were listening, is a huge part of how I was able to keep my shit together, because up until the past couple years, there was still that temptation, and when things would get hard, like, now it's not even a thought in my mind, but which is amazing. But at the time, like, in those first couple years when I was getting sober, it was tough, and I had a couple little slip ups, but like I said, especially during the pandemic, when really all I had going on was just watching a lot of movies and staying up all night. At least I knew I had to be here on a specific day of the week to do the show, and I needed to be coherent enough to do the social media and do the networking and put the things together.
And we did so. I mean, for what it's worth, during that time, we did some of the coolest shit we did on the show, like our trivia series where we had on all of those different podcast guests. That all happened during the pandemic. I think we wouldn't have been able to do those things if it wasn't for how
episode, right? That was like 12 guests, right?
Yeah, for how much technology improved during that time, specifically on the software end of things like Zoom. Being able to record audio directly off of those sources made it so that way we could connect with people all across the globe, and we wouldn't have those strong connections with those people without getting to have those moments of connecting through a digital platform, face to face. And I think that's
ass to ass, honestly.
Yeah.
And sometimes ass to mouth.
Yeah.
And then just in terms of like real world effects that the show has had on my life, the job that I currently have is the best job that I've ever had. It's what I've been wanting to do with my life really for the longest time, and I get to be doing artistic things and being creative and making an impact on.
He did artistic things.
and make an impact on my community. And part of the reason I got that job was because I spent a year basically building my portfolio out of the things I was making for the social media. And then when I went and did the interview for the job that I'm working, I used that as my portfolio. And
you did work for other shows too along the way, right?
Yeah, and that was able to get me in the door and get me the job. And then I was able to show that I had what it took to then excel at what I was doing and grow into a much more like creative lead role in where I'm working right now. But also just the stuff about knowing the industry and knowing how things like narrative work and all of that has come into play in a lot of big ways in my job. And my boss has straight up told me like that information is more valuable than a lot of the information that anybody else in this area has, because we run our business like it's the hero's journey and it's got a narrative and we're trying to take people on a journey. And so your like narrative know-how that you've learned from your show and watching movies, and also just the things about being able to edit audio and edit video and, things that I've just gotten better, mostly the audio stuff, and also just being able to do an interview. Like I can go do interviews with people and I'm comfortable speaking or running meetings. Like I can do that now. And I don't know if I would have been able to do that half as well without shitting my pants before this. So yeah,
we know you know a good shit in the pants.
Yeah, so true. I've learned. Okay.
But yeah, I mean, it's just been it's made a ridiculously big impact on my life, and so I think it was just in this past week that I really started thinking like it's I mean, it is really like Porcelain Peak it's like we're losing someone. Like we're going to be grieving, I think, for a little bit, and I think that the best way to handle that is going to be for us to continue to just get together and hang out every week. And I've been telling people who have been sad about the show ending that we have ideas, but also we have a creative mojo between the three of us, and we have a camaraderie that I think would be a waste not to put to use in some respect going forward. And I think most people who like our show agree that that's why they like it, is because we have an energy, a synergy, beyond just loving to hang out with each other. I think that we, given a few months, we're gonna be like, we need to make something. Like something has to, because this is what we love doing, is we love making things together. And whether that's a podcast or a video series or love, yeah.
I mean, that happens regardless, brother.
Or short films or music or whatever the hell we decide we want to get into. I think it would be a shame for us to fall apart. So I'm hoping we can stick together and keep doing cool stuff. And whether you guys get to see that or not, it's not my problem. No, it's
that's the end.
No, but I mean, whether you guys get to see that now or in a couple months, or whether it's in a year or whatever it is, I don't want to put any ideas in people's heads, or I don't want to put any time frames on us. I want us to be able to take as long a break as we feel we deserve and we need.
I just don't think that this will be the last you see of us.
No, 100%.
On that note, though, and as we've kind of gone through the whole journey of the show,
shouties.
Yeah, I do want to.
You want to run through some of the patrons?
Yeah, well, we're getting to the messages that we got sent in. I'll go ahead and I'll read through the people who have supported us through the Creep Cult on Patreon.
And we thank you so fucking much.
Yeah.
Like, even if you were just following us, we appreciate any support that we've gotten from anybody along the way ever, really.
But these are the people who helped make video on this show possible, who helped make our audio sound way better than it did when we first started.
Helped meet Skeet Ulrich.
As I say, it helped us do cool things like take a picture with Bruce Campbell. That's some shit I didn't think I was ever going to get to fucking do, right?
About that, yeah.
It helped us get to a point where we were recognizable enough that somebody came to us and said, hey, do you want to see our movie early, interview us, and talk about it before other people get to see it? Those types of experiences would not be possible without the people that I'm about to read on this list. So Armando, Chuck, Chloe, Kyle, Brittany, Sarah, Carlos, Mark and Brooke, your dad, Robert, Angelina,
Rob?
your sister, Jeff, Josh, Stephen Vayu, Ashley the intern, the people over at Horror
Porcelain
Movie Crew.
producer asked.
Yeah. and Michael from We Love Horror. Without those people, we wouldn't have been able to keep the show going in times where we needed more money. I think that helped us, like I said, improve in all of the quality spaces that we needed to, and allowed us to make a really high quality show.
Yeah.
Thank you all.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And a
So
lot of those
much.
people, not only through monetary support, but also just through awesome conversations.
And a lot of them have shows of their own. So if you heard something on there that you haven't listened to, check these guys out.
Yeah, we mentioned Mark and Brooke. They have 2 shows now.
Yeah, and they're actually the first ones who I'm going to read a message from. This is from Mark specifically from Podcast on Elm Street. I had posted a story earlier. If you missed out on this and you weren't able to give a final message, feel free to still send them, and I'll make sure that we all hear them and read them and cry over them and give my phone water damage. But from Mark at a Podcast on Elm Street, he says, too many words in my final thoughts to put them in their story, because I had a little question thing where you could put your final thoughts. He said, it's been an absolute blast befriending and collabing with you guys. The past few years have been a ride for all of us, and we're super stoked we got to spend a chunk of that time sharing ideas, doing episodes together, and having the baddest ass group chats. Sad to see y'all go, but excited to see what the future holds for the boys from Cali. Take her easy and keep her creepy.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And then I wanted to read the comment that we got on YouTube.
Yes.
Recently from Jim Marr, I believe.
You got it?
Yes, I do right here. So Jim Marr, he's been following us on YouTube for a while and has been a good supporter of the show and a big fan. He said, I'm really going to miss your show. I can't believe there's only one more show. Thanks for a great ride. I responded to his comment and let him know basically what I just said, like keep an eye on the channel. If we do anything in the future, we'd love to have you on board and following along with us. Because if you cared enough to listen to even more than one episode of the show, then I consider you a diehard fan and I want you around.
So yeah, thank you, Jim.
Yeah, and then from from Steven himself, Stephen Vayu.
Can we just give one last Vayu from everybody?
Vayu.
Who honestly I want to give a huge shout out to.
Yeah, dude.
Because I believe his introduction to us was through being a friend of Chuck's, right?
Yep.
And he just kind of came in as not a guy who had a show already and was just guesting on some of the other.
Probably could have been a fourth host if we could swing that.
Yeah, we hit it off very quickly, and I think that Steven, if you have not checked out Steven's writing, he writes articles, he writes short fiction, he's currently working on a book. The man is crazy fucking talented, and he knows his shit about video games, if that's something that you're into.
He's a musician too.
And he's a musician. He is a jack of all a Steven of all trades. But his comment was for real, I'll miss laughing with you guys every Monday and guessing along with trivia. Sorry, but I'm following you guys wherever you go creatively. Deal with it, in all caps.
Very sweet. Thank you, Steven, from the bottom of our hearts, really, legitimately.
And then I have a message. This actually just came in just under the wire right before we started recording. This is from Jacob. I believe it's Etz, or is it Etis? Let me know. I think it's Jacob Etz. On Instagram. He's been following the show for quite a long time, liking all of our posts and everything. And he said, can't believe it's finally the final episode time. I can't believe it's finally final episode time. It's been wild. At almost every single job I worked, I've listened to you guys when I worked. Some days it's going to be weird not having new episodes, but I'm glad I found you guys and was able to support you. It's been a fun run, and I'm glad I was here for it.
Fuck.
And then I gave him a little response saying thank you and telling him again to keep an eye on the Instagram and that I would let him know what we were going to do moving forward. And he said, glad that his message made it to us on time. I'll be looking forward to, he said, short films if we do short films. He said, that would be so dope. I'm glad you guys are going to keep updating this account on your future plans. I'll be looking forward to it. Have a great last recording session. From our Instagram story, we got a message from your friend, is it Cheryl Light? Cheryl, somebody's friend. Sherilyn, big supporter of the show, has been for a long time. Her comment was, can't believe it's really over. Well wishes to all of you. I will miss the Monday laughs with a heart. And then our friend Carlos just wrote red rum.
You remember that?
Yeah.
He was doing trivia with us and he read it out loud, but he didn't know it, so he said re-drum.
Oh, re-drum. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So he put it, and then he put the face palm. Okay, now it makes sense. Thank you, Carlos.
Thank you.
Re-drum.
Shout out to Gigi Carleone on Twitch. Check him out. He's an affiliate there. So if you got Twitch Prime, hit him up with it. I'm sure he would appreciate. And make sure that he pets Concha, his cat.
Yeah.
And then, I think that about sums it up for messages. Oh, we do have one more here. What's this? Ooh, another secret little hidden message from Steven. He says, and hold on, I came prepared for this.
What's happening?
He says, I think you guys should end the show with a true knife fight.
Oh my God.
I came prepared.
What the fuck is that? A little knife is that? Are you going to file my nails for me?
Careful.
Yeah, so thank you guys, everyone who sent us messages. Thank you, everyone who has listened to the show for any amount of time, whether it was one episode and it made you laugh at any point or it made you cringe. If you've been listening for an extended period of time, I mean, again, I don't think I really realized how much of an impact this would not only have on us, but other people. I mean,
thanks for making us a part of your Monday morning routines or listening to us when you needed a pick-me-up.
I would get excited every Monday knowing that at least Steven, if not one or two other people, would be messaging me about the episode we just put out. And I thought that was so fucking cool to be able to have a conversation with you guys and then have somebody, on that next Monday reach out and have their own points about things we had said or I laughed so hard when you guys did this bit.
Or think that we were secretly gay when we all know that's not a secret.
Yeah, I mean, you guys came out of the closet twice when you started this show, so and I just came in with no reservations. I was just like,
I'm owed a fucking tugger from this guy, and I know you're clammy enough to
say quoting a different Anthony there.
Yeah,
it was a little Bourdain.
Anthony Bourdain. Yeah,
yeah, and shout out to our significant others for letting us do this and dealing with us through it. Adrian, Aaron, Mrs. Jig.
Yeah. Thank you so much for your patience with us as we.
Mrs. Jig was on an episode too.
Fuck.
Way back in the day, she was on our episode on Miss Marvel.
Yeah. Holy shit! I can't believe we did that.
Thank you to my sister Brittany, who's been a supporter of the show for a crazy long time, and since she lives with me and has had to deal with it, even today she was still talking about wanting to get one of these Porcelain Peak shirts, and she has been such an amazing supporter of the show. She would wear shirts to her work so that other people could see and ask her about it, and she would come home telling me I told my friend who is into movies or into horror movies about your show, and doing that on the street networking that she definitely didn't have to do. She could have just been oh, this is a stupid thing my brother does, but she also loves horror movies and thought we were all super funny. And anytime she would see a clip, I could hear her cackling in the other room when she'd watch stuff I posted. And so she legitimately thought that we were, that we're funny. And, my dad obviously contributed a bunch to the show.
I was our top
doesn't even like
patron.
horror movies, and she has been posting sad faces whenever I posted anything about the show ending on social media.
That's so sweet. Shout out to all the Porcelain pets. Tom, Ziggy, Quentin, Kevin.
Yep.
Oh, Wicket. Yeah. Pets come and gone. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Also, we've given them a couple shout outs for other things, but for Brittany and Ashley, for doing all of our photo shoots throughout the years.
Oh shit! Yes.
We did our
Thank you, guys.
we did our space camp photo shoot. We did a Giallo photo shoot. We've done all
Core
kinds.
icons.
Yeah, we've done all kinds of stuff. I think that
I still use those photos everywhere too.
Yeah.
One of your goofy astronaut ones is your picture in my phone, and then one of your like badass sitting in front of a tombstone pictures is the picture for you.
Yeah, and I think on Discord, I think my image is still me holding the chainsaw in the kitchen. But yeah, I mean, I think that without those things, it would have been difficult for us to kind of attach ourselves to the brand that we created.
If there's anybody we missed, we do apologize. We hope that you don't feel left out. It's hard to remember everything. It's like our Oscar speech.
Yeah, I mean, it's trying to encapsulate 5 years of
Just think everybody.
insanity.
Anybody that's even touched the show.
Yeah, and I don't. You've probably heard us say it before, but like I don't even remember what we talked about immediately after we record an episode. So the fact that we were able to remember so much in this discussion, I was really concerned we would get to this conversation and we would all just sit here like I don't remember shit about the last 5 years.
About Dick.
Yeah.
I don't remember fuck about shit.
but this was really fun, and like I learned stuff. Like I was really curious about those early days of you guys getting the show going, and it's just cool to see something that you guys, well, that really like you created, and then you to be able to come in, and then you guys together made it yours, and then me coming in and the three of us together making it ours, and having it change each time. But I think we can all agree that it became better with each stage that it went, and then even with all three of us together, I feel like it's become better and better as it's gone on. And really, at the end of everything, I'm happy that we will have a solid 5 seasons. Where if somebody, for some crazy reason, decides they want to start at episode 1 and go through 240 and all the bonuses, I would hope you see a lot of growth as people from us, and a lot of growth as commentators, and just our ability to speak and analyze things, and also just the growth of the show, and just like how many different iterations it went through. And we're going to do our best to archive all of that stuff and make sure that it doesn't go away. And really, I think as much for us as for anybody else, because I want to be able to go back to this in a few years and really kind of re-experience the whole thing.
There's hundreds of hours of our
Crazy,
thoughts
dude.
on things, on us dealing with things that happened in the real world. And like you said, I think us growing as individuals, understanding more about like the nuances of life and the things that exist outside of 2.5 white people's experiences.
I accept
I think that I'm a better man because of what we've done here.
The better man.
And I think that I wouldn't be able to say that without this.
I couldn't have done any of this without you guys. So I lastly am going to thank you two.
Oh, you beat me to it, yeah. My last bit was just...
Oh, I beat you off.
Well, yeah.
There it is, the tugger.
The beach off. I want to extend a huge thank you to you guys for putting up with me for what, it's been 12 years now or some crazy shit.
I was like, I heard 12 years and I was like, let's stop there.
Yeah. But putting up with me for so long through highs and definite low lows, and being willing to open yourself up to me and let me into your show hole. And
I'm going to be in a show.
Yes. And John, same to you. Like, and also just being the heart of the show. Like honestly, I mean, really, you have always been the guy who understood what was most important about doing this show, which was us being together. And
This whole season should be dedicated to you, because I think we would have stopped after 4 if it was up to us.
Yeah, you persisted, and you made a strong case, and you won us over, and and I agree. Like, I feel like I'm more open and honest with my own emotions, and to me that makes me a better man, because, like I said, you're the heart, and we've all been able to get emotional about things, and on this show, and be honest about things that we've gone through, and it's some of the best years that I've ever had. So
Yeah,
I
agreed.
I don't know what else to say without starting to cry. So
Let's wrap it up. If you're on YouTube, or if you're listening to this, then we got a bonus little bit coming up for you. kind of sayonara to our buttholes. we're gonna be doing hot ones, so that will be a YouTube exclusive video. It won't be typical format. It's gonna be a lot different, but it's gonna be us suffering through the wings of death, as they're called, right? So stay tuned for that. And hey, like any horror franchise, nothing ever really ends. Nothing ever really dies. So you never know what might happen in the future.
Stay tuned for the reboot.
The requel.
The requel, yeah.
All right. Well, I think we're good.
Yeah.
All right. For the last time, I have been Tone.
I've been John.
And you have been...
The internet darling. The boy. The knife fighter. The internet daddy. A million other stupid nicknames and sign-offs that I had over the years. Thank you so much for listening to me. And yeah, I've been Anthony. And this has been a fucking blast, guys.
Thank you all so much.
Last time. Keep it creepy.
Keep it creepy, guys.
Keep it creepy, guys.
And gals. And ghouls.
Fuck. Beers and tears?
Beers and tears.
Let's hug it out.
Tears for beers.
Brandon, I know we're all sweaty. Oh, 3-way? Oh, God, I never wanted to be part of a sandwich more. I love you guys.
Love you too. Love you too.